Hey, my name is Rifenbark, and I'm going to be presenting how Apple is improving well-being. I chose this article because I really think it's cool that Apple has been leading the fight for employee rights. Um, they have really added a lot of things that companies were slacking on. So this is, to preface, this is a little bit of an older article. This was about 2022, but I found it still relevant today, and the themes that it brings up. So for the background information, what Apple does, all of us know it, but they're a software company. They deliver information and technology to people all around. I mean, the iPhone, the iPad, MacBook, all that important stuff. They provide all those services for people, and they've done a lot of cloud computing and AI in the last few years. Some of the other background information is COVID's influence on Apple's business. It kind of influenced the Great Resignation all around, which is when a bunch of employees just left. They decided they didn't want to work anymore, especially not in the environment that they were working. And so that really got employees or employers thinking, dang, we don't have the power anymore. Like, employees have the power to just quit and decide whatever. And we'll talk about that some more later. So for the article summary, it kind of talks about how people matter. And Apple was one of the first ones to realize that, or one of the first larger companies to realize that. And for full-time and part-time, they offered more paid time off. Excuse me. I think it was about 6 days or so. They said more paid time off for full-time and part-time, which is unheard of. Part-time benefits have been pretty lacking before this came out. So that's sick days, mental health days. That's a big thing during the COVID time and all that. Mental health took a really big toll for a lot of people. And so that's been pretty important. Another article I was looking at is that companies are now doing mental health days like in the office. Like, you can come in and talk to a therapist there. It's just like talking to a friend at your workplace. I mean, everybody needs a friend, somebody to talk to, and I think it's a pretty cool idea either way. And also child leave, which was a big thing. Apple stressed in that article that they are trying to avoid the bottom line when most companies are trying to reach the bottom line, because it's a hard time. You know, companies aren't seeing the profits, or at least weren't when this article came out. They weren't seeing the profits as much as they could because there was no money circulating. And Apple is realizing that through that they're cutting their services, because employees, I'm pushing my cat out the way, employees don't want to work somewhere where the environment is not the best, and the culture and all of that. For course connections, like I was saying earlier, the employees found out that they have the power. They have the negotiation power that they could choose what they wanted to work, and if they didn't, then they could just quit. And if they did that, then they could find other jobs that offer those kind of things, or just not work at all, live off the stimulus for a while, and all that kind of thing. Get out of here, cat. Sorry. Also, the cultural values, that was a pretty big course connection I found there. It's supporting high levels of neuroticism, which is mental strength, mental ability, and all that good stuff. And just being there, being present there, actually having a good attitude there, being agreeable. I mean, that's a big thing too. If you're mentally stable, you're going to be a more friendly person, a kinder person, and people are going to want to be around you. It really affects the culture. Apple also was looking at creating an environment to develop emotional ability, and that's like what I was saying with that. It increases your happiness, just the whole culture shifts. When you can tell when you're at a job and people want to be there. Like, you can definitely tell they have that emotional ability. That leads to decreased stress and increased motivation, and that's a big thing if companies really want to avoid the bottom line there. It's like they're paying more for the employees to gain experience and knowledge in this, and that's actually working out for them. So my thoughts on this article were pretty good. Like I said, this was 2022 about people were still figuring out the whole COVID thing and all that. But it brought up a lot of really good points. I mean, so for the analysis here, it says the outcomes that increased trends in larger companies. That's because a lot of companies weren't thinking about mental health until the whole COVID thing and all that. They weren't thinking about how that's really hurting them and affecting their culture and the work environment that they put out there. And so Apple being one of the largest companies, that they really, put themselves out there to increase awareness for it, and many other large companies would follow suit. Being more people-oriented, that's really set them apart, and now it's pretty much across the board, and everybody does it now anyway. So, in conclusion, I did like the article. I thought it was pretty cool. It was kind of hard. I didn't know how to search for a good article. It was saying like, top 10, top 5 trends and all this, but it wasn't mentioning specific companies. Maybe I don't know how to Google it, but so that's why I had to choose an article that was a little bit older, because I realized that I remembered that Apple is kind of leading the fight for mental awareness and all that. And so I thought it was, pretty neat to find an article that talked about all that. And here are the references here. Use the Apple one, and then the Fast Company. That was a mental health awareness. I didn't actually use that in here, but it was talking about some of the stats, the outcomes that have come from increasing mental awareness and all that, which was like, okay, I don't know if I can